In Greek mythology, Themis is the goddess and personification of justice, divine order, law, and custom. She is one of the 12 Titan children of Gaia and Uranus, Earth and Heaven. Themis means divine law rather than human ordinance, literally, that which is put in place, from the Greek verb titemi, meaning to put. Themis is an earth goddess, much like her mother Gaia, and in some stories it is hard to tell the two apart. When Themis is disregarded, Nemesis brings just and wrathful retribution. Thus, Themis shared the small temple at Romanus with Nemesis. Themis is not wrathful. When a distraught Hera returned to Olympus after quarreling with Zeus, Themis of the lovely cheeks was the first to offer her a cup. Themis presided over the proper relation between man and woman, the basis of the rightly ordered family. The family was seen as the pillar of the deme. Judges were often referred to as Themistopoloi, the servants of Themis. Such was also the basis for order upon Olympus. Even Hera addressed her as Lady Themis. Themis is associated with oracles and prophecies, including the Oracle of Delphi. Her symbol is the scales of justice. The cult of Themis was widespread in Greece. The law and order that Themis venerated was in the sense of natural order and what was proper. Such customs were perceived as natural in origin. In Greek, Themis referred to divine or natural law, while nomoi to laws created by people and communities. Themis was depicted as a beautiful woman, sometimes holding a pair of scales in one hand and a sword or cornucopia in the other. The depiction of Themis or Lady Justice blindfolded is more common in the 16th century and modern times. Blindness represents fairness and impartiality, as well as the gift of prophecy. Those who see the future do not experience the present with mundane vision, which distracts from oracular second sight. Themis followed her mother Gaia in occupying the oracle at Delphi in some traditions. Themis shared a temple at Rhamnos with Nemesis because those who ignore divine or natural laws must face a punishment or retribution that one deserves, one's just deserts. An unpleasant experience a person endures, which is viewed by others as a just retribution for bad behavior, a negative outcome which is justly deserved. When Themis is disregarded, Nemesis brings just and wrathful retribution. Themis is not wrathful. When a distraught Hera returned to Olympus after quarreling with Zeus, Themis of the lovely cheeks was the first to offer her a cup. Nemesis is the goddess of divine retribution against those who committed hubris, arrogance, excessive pride, and defiance of Olympus, in rejecting law and order.
We're living in a distinct era of human history and a distinct era of life on this planet where we face incredible challenges, and yet the opportunities are just as incredible and just as promising.
The track that we have been on that has gone away from indigenous knowledge, the respect for biodiversity, the respect for the ecosystem, and this short-term gain that people play in order to get money at the long-term expense of the commons, I think is a debt of nature that we have to pay, and bravely and courageously move forward with kindness and purpose and respect for Native indigenous peoples all over the world, of which we are also a member. So
yes, everyone is indigenous to Earth. Yeah, we have to reinvent social principles.
It's the mantra of Compassion Buddha. We strongly believe that the power of this mantra is very strong to bless us with an ability to develop one's own compassionate qualities through which we will not only be able to heal oneself, but we will be able to heal others too.
In Greek, Deimos means spirit, soul, courage, breath, mind, emotions. Daimia means mind, soul, emotions. The mind or heart as the seat of strong feelings or passion.
There's only one sorrow, the sorrow of not being a saint. But the context of that statement is the sorrow is that people miss the mark, that they're not whole. Holiness is wholeness, that you don't become the person you were meant to be. That you go through your life, you're born, you go through your life, and you die, and you never become the person that you were meant to be. That of all the people who have ever lived, you're the only one like you. The poet says, what I do is me, for that I came. That I came. I came into this world to be me. Self-value, some sense of worth and self-value. And I'm telling you, in my opinion, this is the crisis of our day. It's a crisis of self-value. It is people who do not love themselves. We, the people, do not love ourselves. We have this lost self in there. We don't know who we are. Those are the issues that I'm talking about as the crisis. Because we can look at our superficial life, and we've got a car, and we've got a house, and we've got enough money, and even at our comforts, even at our activities, our active life, and all of that can still gloss over a lot of hopelessness in a person, a lot of loss of self in a person. It's the crisis of the lost self. In the beginning of life, the private self and the public self are the same. A child's not putting on an act. A child's not pretending. A child's not adapting to survive. And that very early on, for many of us, I'm going to say for most of us, at least to some degree, and some to a greater degree than others, pretty soon this public self, this conforming self, this self that wants to stay in the group and is afraid of abandonment or rejection, this conforming self, this false self, this act begins to take over. So that by the time we reach puberty, many of us are more an act, a performance. We're more human doings than we are human beings. We're more an external self or a mask or a persona or a script than we are ourselves. And then the tragedy is that many people go to their death that way.
Athymia means a name formerly given to absence of feeling or emotion, as seen in depression or the dysthymic disorder. In Rebecca's journals, which were written 100 years ago, she referred to experiencing a state of athymia, which sounded as if she were depressed. Apathy means emotional indifference or unresponsiveness. Or it can also mean a congenital lack at birth of the thymus gland, which is an organ situated in the center of the upper chest, just behind the breastbone, that assists the immune system. And we usually point here when we say me, heart chakra. And recently, unfortunately, in the autistic community, alexithymia has become a word that is frequently used. Alexithymia derives from 3 Greek words, lexi and thymia. The core definitions of these blocks loosely translate as not speaking and soul. So already here you see why I actually don't like the word. Alexithymia can be thought of as not speaking from the soul. The more technical definition of alexithymia is that it's a construct of personality that manifests as a subclinical inability to recognize or describe emotions in the self. However we describe it, alexithymia appears as lack of emotional awareness, lack of social awareness or attachment, and lack of ability to relate to others from the perspective of other topics we have covered. We can think of it as a significant lack of emotional intelligence. Happiness isn't the only emotion that Stephen struggles with. Excitement, shame, disgust, anticipation, even love. He doesn't feel these either. I feel something, but I'm unable to distinguish in any real way what that feeling is. The only emotions he is familiar with are fear and anger, which is the fight response, survival mode. Such profound problems with emotion are sometimes associated with autism, which Stephen does not have, or with psychopathy, which he doesn't have either. Last year, at age of 51, he finally learned what he does have. A little-known condition called alexithymia, a word made from Greek parts, meaning roughly no words for emotion. Despite the name, the real problem for people with alexithymia isn't so much that they have no words for their emotion, but that they lack the emotions themselves. That's fucking bullshit. That's just so upside down. When you are shell-shocked, the emotions are still there, just buried underneath, because the traumatic event was overwhelming. Still, not everyone with the condition has the same experiences. Some have gaps and distortions in the typical emotional repertoire. Some realize they're feeling an emotion but don't know which, whereas others confuse signs of certain emotions for something else, perhaps interpreting butterflies in the stomach as hunger pangs. Unfortunately, nobody ever asks why. So what I see as an issue in the autism community, or the current model of understanding of autism, you always take the symptom as the cause. But alexithymia is a symptom. It's not the cause. It isn't just there. So if you look at the trauma model, it looks a little bit different. So everybody's always talking about the fight-flight, which is the hyperarousal, where you feel anxiety, anger, overwhelm, hypervigilance, and you just feel you cannot cope anymore. But what is always forgotten is the freeze, hypoarousal, when you are shut down, numb, passive, withdrawn, right? So then, if you are numb, you don't know what you're actually feeling. You are numb because you are in a freeze, shut down from being traumatized and stressed. If you are within your window of tolerance, you are grounded, flexible, open, curious, and able to emotionally self-regulate, and you are aware of your emotions because you are not shut down, you are open.
So someone's asked, what happens if when you grow up in an environment that might invalidate, gaslight, and devalue your sensory sensitivities constantly, could that lead to alexithymia? Because your very experience is not validated, so you get confused about what you feel and experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So particularly if you're autistic and your experiences are not validated, that's going to have massive impact on you and lead to more confusion than there might have already been in the first place.
And, you know, one of the things that hold us back, you know, in terms of our advancement as a species is this idea of competition. The old Darwinian idea, you know, that survival of the fittest. If I win, you have to lose. It doesn't work that way. Nature works through symbiosis. Nature works through collaboration. It works through forming networks and associations that rise all ships, as it were, or benefit all the parties. We have to somehow educate people that capitalism is what's gotten us to this stage, because it's based on this scarcity idea and, taking, consuming, and marginalizing people. We have to get past that and develop new social paradigms. And symbiosis provides the model for this.
The best way to find that inner peace within is to go into nature and just be present. Always connect with your heart and feel this deep sense of peace within.